I know you were waving to us. I thought you were maybe the fly or something there, man. How are you, Fern? Good morning, ma'am. Thank you.
Buddy. Oh, they are? Ecco, perché gioco. Non lo pescano con cucciaria.
Okay, it's what? T? Dash 12, dash 12? L. Okay. Precinct 3. Okay, now I can pull up a report.
Morning, Commissioner. Go check. Comienza con drainage. I don't think the judge is going to do a good job.
I would have to trick all their hands. Now, okay, we get started on time here. Let's go. Of course, you don't mind, you can say by the car.
And I'm here.
Morning. We're going to get started. I called the meeting of the Drainage District to order. Roll call, we have Commissioner Palacios, Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Quintanilla, and Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 2. Present, the judge is not with us. We do have a quorum. Godfrey, do we have anybody sign up on the,
I believe we do, Commissioner.
There is one person.
we do have Fern signed up? You know,
Let's stay focused. Let's stay focused, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not used to being able to be up first. That kind of shocked me. Okay, it is drainage number 10. My question is, you're creating 11 positions, but you're only going to fill 8, and 3 are vacant, and I think, like I say, there's precinct 1 had 11 in the drainage, precinct 2 has 11, precinct 3, we're not sure, maybe 15, precinct 4, maybe 16, I'm not sure if those numbers are correct, but y'all are going to keep them. What happens to precinct 1 when the other commissioner comes in? Does he need some? We didn't quite understand what was going on. Why 11 positions that you're doing, and you're only going to fill 8? And then what happens with the other? So that was our question on that. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Godfrey?
Not under the drainage district, sir.
Thank you. Next item, item 4.
It'd be item 3,
Excuse
sir.
me, item 3. Consent.
Commissioner, no concerns on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Been moved second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
May I continue, sir?
Yes.
Item 4, approval of the 2012 tax roll totals as per section 26.09E of the Texas Property Tax Code. We do have somebody from the tax office here to make a presentation for the board.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eva Mireles on behalf of Mr. Armando Barrera. I'm here to present the 2012 certified tax roll totals and total parcels for 2012 for the drainage district. We have 308,667 accounts with a tax rate of .0750, leaving that total tax levy for the drainage for 2012 of $19,853,461.61.
Didn't realize you all had that many accounts. That's huge, under drainage district.
Yes, we did have an increase from 2011 with M&O and INS of $759,563.
Oh, good job.
You need approval for that?
Yes, sir.
Approval?
Second.
Been moved second for approval, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
Under item 6, Commissioners, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Marty Salazar from the County Purchasing Department for an explanation in detail on this item. Oh, I'm sorry, item 5, I apologize. Item 5, approval to submit proposed grant application to the Texas Water Development Board, TWDB, for the district system update. It is the opportune time for us to submit a grant application to see if we can get some funding for the update of the system. The grants applications are due by January 15th. We would like to go ahead and get communication started with the Water Development Board to see if we're going to be eligible for some grants.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Marty?
Yes, sir. Martha Salazar for purchasing. Item 6 is just an inadvertent placement on both agendas. It will be taken up by Commissioners Court when that agenda comes up. So there's no action on the entire 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marty,
Marty, I've got a question with respect to item 6.
Yes.
Are we going to have, is the court going to have to recess drainage district to see what the action is under regular commissioners court? To see if there's any action that needs to be entertained by the board?
The action, if any, would be subject to, yes, the only one would be which option the court is going to take. Then the drainage district will know whether they're going to agree to be part of the project.
But I believe.
Okay.
So it would probably be
we would have
better,
to
yes, if
recess.
they recess this item.
Okay, it would be best then we do it today versus waiting a
Correct.
week.
And it
for-
would just only be in
Okay,
participation.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, any expense or anything would be borne by the county.
Okay.
All of item 6?
Well, it depends on what action the court takes, so let us suspend all of 6
Okay, so we table it until Commissioner.
until after Commissioners
No,
Court
it's no action.
takes action. It's,
You come back to it.
There's no action at this point.
So,
thank you, and I'm sorry for the confusion.
do we need a motion next, Steve?
No.
Item 7?
Item 7, request approval of the final negotiating title report services contract approved for negotiation by the Board of Directors 11/13/2012 with Valley Land Title and Company for title report services related to West Main Drain Extension east of Ware Road and Mile 9. We did receive the letter from Valley Land Title. Everything is in order for the title report.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, requesting approval of the attached specifications and approval to advertise for the following RFB number 13001-01098, hauling services gravel, sand, and/or crushed caliche. 2, RFB number 13002-01009B, hauling of dirt with option to load.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moving second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8, consider approval of resolution designating the chairman of the Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 as the authorized representative of the Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 to give notice of intent to reimburse expenditures with proceeds of the tax exempt obligation. Commissioner, this is basically the same format we've used in the past when we have a bond referendum out, which allows the board to start moving forward with the procurement of services and what we need to do while the project or the bonds are sold in March. And this is a standard process, this is standard language. We did receive this from Chuy Ramirez, our bond counsel, which allows us to move the program forward.
That's the one,
So we're needing to designate a chairman?
Yes, sir, the chairman is the one that signs off on the bond
Well, in this
referendum.
case, we're talking about the judge.
Yes, sir, that is
Right.
correct. It's just for the signing of the document.
Move to approve.
There's a motion.
This one's a reimbursement resolution?
It's a reimbursement, advanced funding, a reimbursement resolution where it allows the district to use its own funds to expend funds until the money or the bonds are sold in March.
And what's the plan of action? You're looking at going after asset, I mean, what, are we looking at rural development, or are we looking?
Commissioner, basically, if the board approves this, we will move forward with the whole bond referendum. In other words, the Commissioners Court can start going through the process of evaluating what assets are going to be sold to the district, what projects y'all want to move forward on, instead of waiting till March to move it
okay, on
forward.
this here, is there any way you can give me those projects for precinct 3 that we can get started on?
Yes, sir. Once this is approved, we can give you the list of the projects. That way y'all can start moving forward with the selection process to try to get ahead of the curve, to try to get these projects ready to go out once the money becomes available in March. Otherwise, you have to wait till March before you even begin the process.
Yeah.
Simply what it means, I think, is that the judge can sign off so you can start the process.
That is correct.
Any approval of expenditures
Still
need
comes to
come
the board.
back to court.
You guys can ask for your projects, like you can start setting them up.
Yeah, and for the record, we've submitted all our reimbursement ones. We've already submitted a couple of design-ready projects, and
Yes, Commissioner, I've met with several of the commissioners. You have delivered to us with the budget office, the list of the expenditures that your precinct has done on specific projects. In addition to that, you've given us a list of plans and specs that you're ready to begin advertisement for. Commissioner Flores has talked to us of what projects he wants to move forward on. Commissioner Palacios, we're discussing with him what projects he wants to get moved forward. He wants to have some public meetings with the Colonia people to see which colonias are going to be done. So we're ready to submit the packages of the list of projects that were in your precinct. And part of the discussion has been that the precinct will be responsible for projects that begin inside of their precinct, because some of these ditches tie outside the precinct. So it only makes logical sense that what begins in your precinct is the one that the commissioner will be moving forward on.
There's a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item 9, approval of interlocal cooperative agreement between the County of Hidalgo, the Edinburgh Consolidated Independent School District, the City of McAllen, and the Hidalgo County Drainage Number 1 for road and drainage improvements on Russell Road to Ware Road. Basically, this is an interlocal between these entities in which all the parties are participating. The district will participate in a drainage system that's part of our master plan. That is our only participation on this project.
Approval.
Second.
Been moved second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item B, approval of the interlocal cooperative agreement project, road and drainage improvements on Russell Road to Ware Road. Again, it's part of the item A.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item 10A, discussion, consideration, and action on creating the following positions: 3 excavator operators, 1 backhoe operator, 4 laborers, 1 field supervisor, 1 foreman, 1 crew leader. These are the delineation of staff that is being considered for the creation in the district, since it's been the board's discussion for consideration of moving over all of the drainage improvements that have been in Precinct 1 for the drainage district to begin the maintenance of those systems. This was discussed during the budget hearing, and at the request and discussion with your county administrator, we've been working with him, HR, and also budget to try to get these positions created. And again, we're bringing them to the board for the board's consideration. Balde, do you have anything?
Yes, Commissioners, this is the follow-up action that was discussed during the budgeting process. And but when I say the budgeting process, I'm talking about on the drainage district side. There was direction, or there was direction that the drainage program from Precinct 1 at some point in time was going to be transferred over to the district. And with that being said, when the county adopted its budget, there was action taken with respect to the individual commissioner programs. And it was discussed and put on the record that the Precinct 1 program would transfer over to the district.
But
So-
then-
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've been, take no action on this.
No, this is time sensitive. We need it by January 1st.
I don't, well, still, the question is, have you been requested to table this for the next meeting?
Have I been requested?
Yes.
By who?
By me?
Yes, yes, sir, you did.
And I understand Commissioner Palacios. Joseph.
No,
What is that?
no, we didn't have that discussion.
No.
Get him.
Yes.
Come here.
Give me a second.
Hi, Dan.
Okay, please explain for me, because I don't understand. It's not a precedence. I don't think we've ever done this before. So the way I understand it is we have decided to take drainage district and have drainage district absorb all the drainage district employees from precinct 1? Is that what we're doing?
Well, we don't know yet. They have to apply, Virginia. I will let Ken speak back to you. Sorry.
Commissioner Palacios, did you want this for some reason tabled or something?
No, the only concern, obviously, the action that we're taking is going to affect the 2013. I haven't gotten any position from the incoming commissioner of what his intent is. What I'm afraid is if we transfer, then he's going to start advocating for drainage operations within his precinct, and we're just removing it. So that's what I was concerned about, and I don't know if we have had any dialogue.
I've never
The
heard of it
overall- if I may,
before.
Commissioner Palacios, the overall intent, we talked about this during the budget process, that someday we start making a transition, that the
Right.
drainage district would be in charge of all our drainage
Yeah,
throughout
that was-
Hidalgo County, and work it uniformly, and make decisions, and eventually follow a master drainage plan.
Right.
And this is the first transition, the first.
No, drainage having a drainage crew is imperative that a precinct or the drainage, but we've been very beneficial by having one, so I see their worth.
Right.
And in no way do I think that there's no need for drainage, or whether or not these employees are valuable enough to be transferred to drainage. The only thing I'm concerned about is making a decision that's going to affect a year where an incoming commissioner didn't afford the opportunity to decide what he thinks should be
The only thing that I
best.
see here, the budget's been budgeted. I mean, there's nothing. If he wants new employees for next year, he's gonna have to come to Commissioner's Court.
That makes sense,
So that's what I mean, it
Joe.
doesn't make sense. He's gonna have to wait another year, maybe, and
No.
when his budget year comes around, do it.
Gentlemen, keep in mind that this is a decision we made during the budget process, and these positions are going to be deleted at the end of the year in my precinct.
So what we're talking about is maybe someday having a drainage district only to take care of drainage and not have them in the precinct?
Oh, that is the hope.
Is that the
That's
whole object?
inevitable,
Is that
yes.
where we're going?
That's where we're going.
Is that step number one, to get rid of road and bridge and consolidate too?
Virginia, if you remember, months ago, we talked about this. I mean, don't forget, we were there. And we talked about that there was no money for precinct 1. Precinct 2 didn't have a drainage district. We finally worked
No,
out,
no,
that
no.
we kept ours. He doesn't have one.
Actually,
No,
this
no.
And
this
precinct
is
1
going
got transferred to
to,
precinct 1 because when we were trying
Commissioner
to work on the
Flores,
budget.
if I may, Precinct 2 has done a lot of drainage project.
But you work through the drainage district to do it?
Yeah, but you work in conjunction with the
Oh, I
drainage
understand.
district.
And we also
just
do
like-
that.
Well,
Okay.
so this is not necessarily something need to happen.
was
all
your
of a
question
sudden.
answered, ma'am?
Well, my
Well,
question
I've
was
got the
kind of
floor, if you
answered.
don't mind. Godfrey, in your budget request, you only had 4 positions requested. And now you're looking at 11. Yeah, 4. And there was trailer operators.
Oh, that was a different situation, Commissioner.
No. It was not a different.
That was beforehand.
It was a request coming from Godfrey.
Bueno, mira,
When he
Tito,
was asked.
enough is enough. Move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion, second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to aye, but also because of
I'm
the...
opposed.
We did discuss it during the budget process. The difference here is that we can only afford moving some of the employees. I was already advocating for my employees to be transferred to the drainage district. Obviously, we can only afford so many, or there would have to be a need for a higher tax rate for drainage, of which we're not advocating
Well,
whatsoever.
the biggest problem that I've got on that is we have had experience with moving people around, and we had lawsuits filed
Commissioner, if
against
you
us.
didn't want to do this, you should have
Excuse
brought it
me,
up
I've
during
got
the
the
budget
floor.
process, Commissioner.
Excuse me, I've got the
Last
floor.
hour.
You are the one.
Yes, I am, for the record.
And I'm concerned about that we're not being upfront with the public in terms of jobs created and not created. We had an experience, again, I go back, we had lawsuits filed against the county for some personal issues. And I certainly don't want to place the county in the same situation. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I said, I don't want to place it in the same situation.
If I may
Whether
have-
you have the vote or don't have the vote.
May I have the floor now, Commissioner?
So the vote was 2-2?
We've taken action already.
May I have,
Next item,
so you're not going to give me the opportunity to speak?
we have taken action, and we have discussed it. Next item.
Well, I'm going to speak anyway. If you want to throw me out of the
what was-
commission, that's fine.
What was
This is
the-
Going to
ridiculous.
the next item.
Godfrey, is this-
Item is concluded.
All I want to say is, it's time sensitive, and if you're going to keep these employees in the precinct, we need to take action immediately. This was an item that was approved during the budget process, and these employees are not going to have a job as of January 1st. And if there was an issue with this, you should have brought it up during the budget process, which we all approved.
That should have been handled upfront. You knew you were going to be out of money,
Godfrey,
you were going to be out of a job.
Would we lose anything by addressing this next week?
Commissioners, two things. One, to clarify what the action was. Secondly, the discussion of this is at the board's direction. So I defer back to the board. What was the action?
3-1.
3-1. The vote.
Next item, please.
Item number 10B, approval of the revised salary schedule. Basically, the revised salary schedule is a schedule associated with these slots that are
Second.
associated with salaries associated with the drainage district personnel.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I vote again.
Item 10C, approval of the budget amendment in the amount of $47,054.62.
Move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign.
We have no item under closed session posted unless the board wishes to entertain one.
Well, we're going to recess the meeting.
Oh, yes, sir, I apologize,
To
yes.
come back.
And we'll bring back on the health issue. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's,
So that, for the time being, concludes the
Do you have to call
discussion.
for a vote, Commissioner, for the recessing or not?
No, we got 10 minutes.
Is there a motion, a second?
Second.
Been moving second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we stand in recess for about 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
ready to start on a Commissioners Court meeting. We have a roll call. Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 4, Commissioner Flores, Precinct 3, and Commissioner Quintanilla, Precinct 1, and Palacios, Precinct 2. We do have a quorum. You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Joseph.
Let's remain standing, please bow our heads. Almighty God, we come together today for the good of the citizens of Hidalgo County. Give us your wisdom as we make decisions that will affect them today and the years to come. Help us to work well together, recognizing that each of us are here because we want what is best for Hidalgo County. We ask for your blessing and your guidance. In your name we pray, O Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Do we have any concerns on that?
Yes, we do. On consent agenda items 7C, 11FC, 11K2. That's it.
Move to present the consent agenda as presented, with discussing 7C, 11FC, 11K2.
Do we have a second?
Move second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Go ahead.
Yes, on consent agenda item 7C, just a point of information that we're going to need, because it's a state association, membership in a state association, we're going to need a letter from the association stating that minimum membership of at least 25% of eligible political subdivisions are members. So that was just a point of information.
Do you recommend approval with that information?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, on consent agenda item 11FC, it's a renewal of a contract with Mid-Valley Pest Control, but on that one, there was no general insurance attached. And also on its auto insurance, the county was not named as a insured.
Where's Marty?
Baldi,
Yes, sir.
could you explain that?
Well, with respect to the insurance document not being attached, that would be a follow-up. I know that Marty's office responded to your office, to the auditor's office yesterday. I saw the email. I don't know what the end result was of the,
As of this morning, we hadn't received a response from Marty.
no, there was a response yesterday. I saw an email to
To
your
that
office.
specific item?
Well, to your concerns, yes. Commissioners, the only thing I can recommend is, I know that there's recommending no action, but I would recommend action contingent on the proper documentation being attached and for the county to have. Obviously, it's a requirement that we have. So if we take no action today, we're delaying the service by another week,
Actually, move for approval, subject to.
subject to the paperwork being in place.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Thank you.
motion carries.
Okay, on consent agenda 11K2, it's a payment. It's a payment to LNG. On this item, we had some issues regarding this project, so what we're requesting is a list of the parcels that are going to be acquired for this project. It's 11K2.
So what is it exactly you're asking for?
We need information from the vendor before we process payment. So we can approve subject to the information.
Move to
being-
approve, subject to the information being provided.
Second.
Michael, that was a list of the parcels.
There's
Of
a
92
motion
parcels.
second. All those
Yeah.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion
All you need
carries.
is that list.
Okay.
right? Correct?
Okay.
Is that it?
On the consent, yes.
Go to next item, open forum. Do we have a list, anybody sign up for? Eight people have signed up. First one is Lydia Jeffries, the Jeffries.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm here in your presence because housing and equal opportunity protect me. And so nobody can force my way to get some help that I need. The mobile home where my son lives and I live with him is not livable because in 2006, a program of county give us some help and instead help us, they destroy the mobile home. So it's danger because the electric wire is rusted and last week my son was putting coffee in the microwave and exploding his face. So it's not livable, the home, and nobody can help us. I asked a lot of times to Miss Serna and everywhere, even the Rio Grande Development Council, and nobody can help me. So I'm here to ask you if you allow me to get a grant to fix the old home. Thank you.
Thank you. On the next item, Baldo, we have 4 people sign up for the same topic.
For the same topic, Commissioners, our Commissioners Court policy is if you have more than one participant on the same subject matter, then what we do is we defer to the group as a whole, have a 30-minute time limit, and ask the group if they have a representative.
Thank you, Commissioners. We understood that basis. We signed up in what I wanted to cover in open forum. Might not be quite complete in 5 minutes. I'll try not to take any more than is necessary, but if you will allow me to speak for the group, I'm ready to do so.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You notice I'm not wearing my red shirt today, but I don't assign anything meaning to this. I haven't resigned from the Owls. I'm not mad at them or anything, but I want to speak this morning as a citizen. I'm a resident of FAR in Precinct 2. I look at Tito as being my commissioner, and I try to always speak openly, fairly, and politely, and not be too critical of anyone. And I think some of the things I have to say may be interpreted as being critical. So I wanted everybody to know, if you're going to get mad at anyone, don't get mad at the Owls, get mad at me, because this is Frank Traver speaking. Now, my topic this morning is passenger rail transit, not just in Hidalgo County, but anywhere we find it in the United States. Now, this was on your agenda last week, and you were here, had the privilege of hearing one representative of the Hidalgo County Rail District Board deliver what was designed to be a glowing report of all their activities. Now, this was just for discussion, not for any possible action. Now, I listened in awe when Mr. Edge stated a number of things, including the Rail Board's annual report. Incidentally, while I'm on the Rail Board's directors, until last week's Commissioner Court meeting, I'd never heard of this annual report. I don't know when it was conceived or who wrote it. Now, in order to make sure everyone knows where I'm coming from, even for the public, as this is broadcast, I'd better describe what really's happened over the last year or so, how we came to this point. Now, I had never heard of the Hidalgo County Commuter Rail District till sometime late in the year 2011, when there was a preliminary presentation in Commissioner's Court about a feasibility study that was winding down, almost completed, and it was concerning commuter rail system for Hidalgo County. Now, I've lived, worked, and commuted in New York, Chicago, Cleveland, and Dallas, and I could hardly believe what I was hearing. Not having any reliable research or factual material, I could only wonder how anything like that was even remotely possible. Most everyone I asked had an attitude that, well, don't worry about it, it can never happen here. Just don't worry and it'll go away. Well, in order to learn a little more about it, on November 15th in 2011, I put a request for public information in to find a little more about what was going on here in the district. It was responded, they had no money, no income, no budget, no employees, no contracts, no open business operations of any kind. They did receive some sort of support by interlocal agreement for clerical and communication tasks. Now, a month or two after the consultant's feasibility study had been delivered and spread around the county, the Rail Board came back to Commissioner's Court. This time they were asking commissioners to sign a pledge of support. Apparently they wanted, incidentally, which never was signed. I believe they came 3 weeks in a row pushing this. Apparently they wanted to shop this around the cities and other groups that would listen and chime in, all apparently to lead to some continuing activity. Hearing more of this only increased my real skepticism, and I just had to speak out. I believe my words were something like, I'm sorry, but I simply feel that I have to refute virtually everything that has been said just now, after they had been speaking. Now, this set off a firestorm with some of the commissioners joining in. I had almost no opportunity to say anything more. But before I could even return to my seat, Mr. Edge tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to come to the outer lobby. There we were soon joined by Godfrey Garza. Now, the two of them attempted to give me a pretty severe verbal lashing. Incidentally, there were several witnesses to all this. I believe I finally got the last word in when I refused to back down and told Mr. Garza that nothing could be settled by trying to outshout each other in the hall. So we went off to a very friendly start in our acquaintance. After this pointless confrontation, I set about to do my own research on this subject. Incidentally, the fact is that all those responses I received in reply to my request for open records over a year ago are still the same answers today as we speak right now. There's no money, no employees, no income, no contracts. They have not sued anyone and no one has sued them. The only transaction completed this year to receive a $500,000 grant for the feasibility study. They paid $426,000 to the consultants, and after that returned the balance of about $74,000 to the county, which was used for other purposes. There are several people that seem to be seeking funding from other sources just to stay alive, but these seem to be more personal endeavors rather than a real action of the board itself. In fact, they haven't even had a board meeting since last July. Now, within the last month or so, and several hundreds of hours of work, I produced my own report. I stand behind this as a factual summary which supports my conclusion, as stated in that executive summary, that the commuter rail district should be eliminated. Now, I'm also a great believer that if you take up a subject, you should not hear just one side of the subject. I don't think you really know anything about it until it's been openly debated, which usually can be done in friendly terms. There seems to be difficult here in that we're getting one pitch to this thing and not any real opportunity to openly discuss both sides of the question, whether the rail is good or bad. Now, to take up Mr. Reds' report to you last week, he very clearly stated a number of facts that are simply not true. First of all, he indicated that only a handful of transit rail systems were able to turn a profit. He then named 5 such systems and gave their profit percentages for 4 of those 5. He also clearly stated that his source of information was the National Transit Database for 2010. I've gone over the recording of this meeting, and I'm positive that these facts are clear. What Mr. Edge didn't know, that was the commissioners and our judge each already had a copy of my report on the research I had done. Included in that report is a complete copy of the National Transit Database for 2010, Table 26, which is a listing of all 1,363 transit systems operating that year. That table lists for each mode of service, that is, whether it's rail or bus or how they operate. It lists all of them and their financial results for the year, including their fare revenue, their total expenses, their operating loss, and the percentages of the expenses that the fare collected covered. So what Mr. Edge didn't know was that the commissioners already had in hand information from the very same source he had referred to that would prove him wrong. I will be glad to give each of the commissioners who can't locate that quite quickly themselves, it's a little out of the over 1,000. I'll give you the page or sit down with you and help you show where to find that. Now, Mr. Edge made 2 more serious mistakes. He either doesn't understand or is unable to read the data, or someone is giving him information which isn't really clear or correct. The profitability percentages he referred to in his presentation isn't profit at all. He got these percentages out of this report that he quoted, which is the percentages of the expenses that are covered by their fares. And only over 100 does that become a profit. But he was quoting each percentage as a profit figure. Now, not only that, the National Transit Association classifies each entity or system as the type of service they are engaged in, called the mode. These include CR for commuter rail, HR for heavy, LR for light. Every one of the examples that Mr. Edge put forward were coded DR, or direct response. Now, I can pull up and did a little research not only on the classifications there, but on those individual systems to see what they were doing. Now, DR being direct response, I think it's reasonable to know that no one is going to send a train out based on a telephone call to take someone to the doctor's office or something. Direct response typically is buses or taxis, depending on each individual organization that has that. And there's a lot of them in the country. Some of those, but very few, do make a profit, but none of the rails. Now, each time I speak on the rail, I try to bring out some new information about the subject rather than just try to beat the same old thing to death. Briefly, there's 2 more reports I very recently found. One is a study called A Note on Rail Transit Cost-Benefit Analysis. It's authored by a gentleman named Peter Gordon. He's professor of the School of Policy and Planning at the University of Southern California. His research and teaching interests include urban economics, urban transportation, and policy issues. He was assisted by Paige Colasar, an undergraduate at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Here's 2 very brief quotations from that report of his. Quote, "It is well known that United States rail systems do not cover costs. Ridership is too low and costs are too high." Quote, "We have shown that accounting for non-user benefits does nothing to modify the assessment that introducing rail transit into modern cities cannot be justified on economic grounds." Now, there's another paper entitled Policy Analysis. The Case Against Light Rail, authored by Randall O'Toole. This gentleman is a senior fellow with the Cato Institute and author of a book, The Gridlock, and Why We Are Stuck in Traffic and What to Do About It. Now, 2 quotes from that, just brief quotes there, are this. Quote, transit agencies that receive federal funds invariably claim success no matter how much the rail line costs or how few people ride it. Quote, no rail transit in the country comes close to covering its operating costs, much less its total cost. Now, these are pretty reliable people who are professionals that work in this field, and I think their opinions are worth noting. So now, what do we do about this, if anything? Are we just going to let it die? See if it will go away? I don't think that's a very satisfactory head-in-the-sand approach. McAllen down here is trying very hard to do some very good things. They had their electric bus proposal, 3 buses they had on order. Apparently their financing collapsed on it and they've had to withdraw it. But one minor factor about their trying to get these buses, which are quite unique, developed in technology, I believe, in Korea, they would actually have their charges of their batteries wirelessly while parked at bus stops along the line. And a very seldom noted fact that as part of this basis for this study was that the electric fuel, rather than diesel, was projected to look like a 80% cost reduction. Now, this is something really worth going after. Now it has to be on the shelf. McAllen also has a 50-cent fare on their demand operation. I talked to one of the bus drivers when I found out about that. If an individual qualifies and registers with the city, they call up and they will send a bus which has a wheelchair hoist which they can take the patient on the board. 50-cent fare. The drivers cannot accept tips and cannot make change. They have to pay in cash. They're really working. And I think one of the greatest things that the county could do was establish direct communication with those people and ask them, how can we help? How can we spread some of this county-wide and be looking at things that are practical, realistic goals we should be working on? Now, my concern is as long as this rail district hangs around in the wings, attracting the very handful of people who are really spending any hours and working on things, are being taken off issues that are very important. You can put us years back by just letting this rail system hang around, getting in the way of things that really should be done. Now, I've got a couple of other examples that I think I almost skipped of people trying to go for funding on an individual basis rather than the board itself doing it. Now, I've talked to the commissioners separately, and they seem to individually to be pretty darn respectful of the information I've developed. So the legality issue was introduced last week. Oh, we may not have the power to close it. I'd already looked at the permissive law of Texas that gave us the permission as a county and as a commissioners to create this rail board. But it's totally absent in the law any method to close it. I looked at the bylaws which were adopted. It goes into a lot of detail of how board members are appointed and their powers and their duties. And again, it's totally absent on any authority to close that rail commission. Now, I've talked to several people, and my first inclination is the board exists at the pleasure of the Commissioner's Court and certainly should have the power to close it. I think that's a reasonable interpretation. So whether or not it is, I don't think that asking for a legal opinion on this is going to be a productive way to go. It can take a lot of time and probably will be inconclusive. This is such a minor point, I'm sure there's probably never a court case, and no attorney is going to stick his neck out and be very specific. So I think if you should look at a cost-benefit analysis, what's it going to cost us? What the disadvantages if we do nothing? I think they're severe in terms of lost time or work that needs to be done that the court needs to back. What are the disadvantages or what can happen if you try to close it? Well, one alternative is that you do it, no one objects, it makes a lot of sense, it's a done deal. Now, if anyone does object, then you can have some discussions with them and negotiate whether they really want to go through and force you to go to court. You could always decline, not spend a penny, go back, and wind up to be right where we are today and not out of pocket a cent. I strongly urge you to get together, put it back on the agenda with an action item to close the rail board. Have an open discussion. Let them come forward and tell why they need it. Now, again, I apologize. I've come out of my role of trying to always be polite and not criticize anyone. But I felt like I've been backed in a corner. When I'm putting out a report with these other facts in it, and someone comes up here and makes these statements that are absolutely false, and you've already got in your hands proof that they're false, I just felt like I have to come out fighting. Now, if this approach of mine is not satisfactory, and you think I'm stepping out of bounds, I certainly hope not. I feel it's important to bring all this out in the open, and open discussion should be the way things are carried on, not one-sided ones. Again, I thank you very much for the time, and I hope this whole thing is constructive and we can go on from here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. We may have a few minutes left. Do we have anybody else who wants to say anything on that? Virginia?
Virginia Townsend, Precinct 3. Not only is Frank very polite, but he also, I cannot believe how much research this man has done on this rail system. And he has nothing to gain by coming up here and telling you all, don't do this, don't get into it, or it's going to be expensive and it's not going to turn out right. And what bothers me is as they go through and tell their stuff, which Frank has already proven has not been truthful, and he can't bring it in himself to say lies. He can't say that. He just wants to say whatever. He says another way, but he's not going to stand up here and say they lied. I will, but I'm telling you, you've got to listen to citizens who put so much time in on a subject that they have nothing to gain from. They just want the county to do good business. And it bothers me that as they go through and tell their story, different cities are jumping on board because it sounds good, and you don't want to be accused of not having foresight and you can't see a vision. Sometimes you just have to say, it's got to make sense, what we do and where we put our money. And I don't care if it's federal money of $500,000, it's still our tax money. So they say, well, it's not our money. Yes, it is. It just wasn't county money. But please, please listen to people who go to the extent of doing this much research and staying on this, constantly asking you all, make a decision now. Cut the head off the snake now. Don't wait. Don't say, well, we have to think about it. And if somebody says, oh, we'll get sued, you all created this thing. You can do away with it. It won't, nobody's going to sue you for that. But I do thank you for your time, and I know you can't comment, but that's okay. At least you didn't fall asleep.
Thank you. Well, the 30 minutes are up on the topic. We have the next presenter, Ms. Billman.
Good morning. My name is Opal Billman. In Hidalgo County, Texas, in response to a petition for divorce, the 275th District Court determined our land to be excess land with no value, issued a settlement of $650,000, divided 41% for Opal and 59% for Joe, that we still had to earn, appointed a manager for the court and a beneficiary for me. The court awarded me a 15-year promissory note from Joe for $266,500 and court-ordered Joe to give the money to the court-appointed beneficiary. A promissory note is debt. I was awarded Joe's debt for a divorce settlement. I was then told to sign away my deeds. There is no settlement of land to Joe or me, and we were both being told to sign away our deeds. The land is not included in the settlement. I said no. The 275th District Court fined me $10,000 for contempt of court. All of our community property was in the control of the 275th District Court when Joe died. It still is. During probate, hearings continued to be held in the 275th District Court and the probate court. At one of the hearings, I was told that I was to pay the probate lawyer for the probate of Joe's will. I waited for a statement, which I never received, so I filed a petition intended for the probate court to examine the records and explain the actions of the courts. The county clerk sent the petition to the 275th District Court. The probate lawyer then filed a lawsuit against me and the court-appointed beneficiary for $10,000. A hearing was held in the 275th District Court. Present were the judge, the probate lawyer, my son, and me. There was no examination of records or explanation of court actions. Instead, the probate lawyer said there will be no discussion of real estate. The judge issued a court order that I was to pay the probate lawyer $8,500, which I did. I assume the beneficiary paid the $1,500 balance of the $10,000 lawsuit, so he could have claimed to have paid for Joe's probate. The community property of Joe Billman and me is 72 acres of debt-free land with capital improvements. It would have been so simple to divide the land into 2 parcels and give it back to the owners. The giving it back, releasing our private property from the court, is the hang-up. The 275th District Court refuses to do so. I was sued for divorce. That didn't happen. The judge had one job: divide our private property into a fair settlement and return it. That didn't happen. Instead, the 275th District Court judge fined me $18,500. $18,500 in a car dealership buys a new car. In the 275th District Court in Hidalgo County, it bought me defamation of my character, 2 unconstitutional jury trials with no resolutions to the issue, and verdicts subject to change at the whim of the judge. 15 years of continuing false imprisonment and continuous barratry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Juan Martinez.
Good morning, Commissioners. Wanted to take this opportunity to brief the court on what happened last night at the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department. The bylaws were not approved by 11-9 vote from the members. So next Tuesday, what I will be asking is to terminate the contract with the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department while we explore other options for fire service out in that area. In the meantime, we will have Edinburgh continuing services out there while we're exploring our other options. And once we feel comfortable with one of those options, then we'll go ahead and transition from the Edinburgh Fire Department to one of our options. I know you can't comment. However, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to contact me at any point. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, can you make out the name, Enrique? on the subject of John Peña facility. Anybody?
Nobody.
That concludes the public forum. We'll go to the next item, County Judge Office.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jaime Longoria with the County Judge's Office. On item 6A, we're asking for no action. I'll go on to item 6B, requesting approval of claim invoice for advertising services, invoice dated 6/15 of 2012, for the following village profile in the amount of $3,395, with authority for the county treasurer to issue payment after review and auditing procedures are completed by the auditor. Commissioners, one of the tasks, one of the departments within the county judge's office is an economic development department. We have some folks that are assigned to undertake activities of economic development, betterment of the county. Back in 2011, actually on August 31st of 2011, one of our employees entered into an agreement with an advertising firm, and actually I've given you a packet, a little three-sheeter, entered into an agreement for advertising services in one of these handouts that the Valley Partnership distributes to potential investors, potential companies, and people that are going to move into Hidalgo County. You do have a copy of the actual agreement on the first page. The second page is a copy of the statement, and on the third page is the actual proof of the advertising.
On employment there.
Pardon me?
I'm looking on the little section where it says employment of Hidalgo County, the top 15.
Yes, sir. That was information that was gathered at the time by...
But they didn't call everybody to think, because I'm looking here, the La Jolla ISD has over 4,000 employees, it's not even in here.
Right. I don't know where that was gathered from. That was gathered by the economic development staff. But the ad was, the particular staff member did confer with the purchasing department, and there was a misunderstanding actually, and the agreement was signed. However, the proper procedure was not followed, and the purchase order was not actually opened until March 6th of 2012. Because of that, the auditor has refused to pay this item, and we're asking that it be treated as a claim, and that we submit it forward as a claim and approval by the court.
Steve, is there any problem with this? Just a claim?
It's a claim. The only question I have, I'm not familiar with it, the only question I have is how who signed for it, and did they have the authority to sign? I don't need to know the name. I'm saying, did they have the authority to enter into that contract?
Yes, one of our economic development staff in our office signed for it, and it was, as I said, it was signed on 8/31 of 11.
With authorization from the county judge?
Yes, the ad actually ran.
If I could give the court, when we were made aware of the action that's been taken, we immediately did inform the county judge's office that, an individual cannot bind the county. However, after doing a lot of research and with the initiative that publishes it, we found that the publication wouldn't take place even until April. I think it was April of this year. Therefore, we instructed them that because it was not valid to begin with, because she couldn't bind the county, but because none of it had already taken place, it could not be canceled, though, because they already had it placed into the book on the draft and all of that, but it actually had not been published. We gave them authority to issue a purchase order. I guess at this point...
There is a PO issued for it?
There is a PO.
Was this before or after?
It was in March, but prior to the publication. Prior to the publication. So that's why we felt, after evaluating all the circumstances, we went ahead and advised them to issue the purchase order. I think maybe the only thing we may have overlooked, and I do know was to actually bring the instrument that needed to be signed, correctly signed, but once they had a PO, we gave them that
So basically,
procedure to
they have a
follow.
purchase order, and they did provide
Correct.
the
And
services.
And the basis for that was that we found out after a lot of research that that was just obligated, what she was doing was obligating, we agreed to this, and it would be done in April of the next year. So
Actually,
there was
this
never
was-
a publication prior to the issuance of the PO.
But it says here 9:30 of 11.
That's when she entered into the agreement, but it wasn't published. In fact, we asked them that they give us
It
this.
actually came out in April of this year.
And the Rio Grande Guide to the Valley actually contracted the vendor that you see the agreement signed with for all their publications. So it was something we had no control of. This was like an advertising agency. That's really what they are.
Move to
put it
approve the payment.
And it was
I
provided.
would approve it. Now, if they do still require a document, we certainly could have it executed, but the PO did authorize
Is that what you're
the
recommending?
public. Yes.
Move to
Second.
approve.
Yes, we didn't have a concern on this agenda item.
Ma'am?
Yes, that's fine.
And when we did require that they send us a full copy so that we would know, they do this at least a year in advance
How many of
sometimes.
those were published? Where'd they go?
The publication,
Yeah, I mean,
it's right here.
yeah, and I know it's right there, but who got them?
They get distributed,
Oh,
Commissioner,
they're
to
just-
potential people that call in for information that
Oh,
want
okay.
to
Yes.
locate to Hidalgo County.
It's like an all-valley chamber
Yeah,
type
I know
thing.
what you mean.
Yes, this is all distributed to a lot of other chambers.
There's a motion set for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
And I will work with the auditor's office. I wasn't aware that it hadn't been paid.
She said they don't have any concerns.
It hadn't
Consider it
been
as a claim.
paid because it was pending Commissioner's Court approval.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Morning, Commissioners. Bobby Villarreal with the County Judge's Office. Item 6C is approval of the agreement provision of services by and between Hidalgo County and the Alliance for Interstate 69 Texas. We're a part of the I-69 Alliance. The judge is a member that goes to Austin periodically, and, I'm sorry. And actually, I think Commissioner Joseph Palacios is also a proxy, so whenever the judge can't go, Commissioner Palacios does attend. We have Julian Alvarez from the partnership here, and one of the procedures is for us to annually pay our dues, and I think Steve has looked at the
Move to
agreement.
approve.
Commissioner, the auditors had a concern that the agreement, the attached agreement contains some blanks, the effective date of the agreement, and also the, I guess, timing of reports to be submitted to court is blank. And actually, legal review and approval was not documented in the agenda backup either.
Did you hear
And also,
anything?
the invoice was not attached.
I can't hear anything. I mean, you close to that. There you go.
That the agreement contains blanks. It contains the effective date of the agreement is blank, and also I guess, frequency of reports to be provided to Commissioners Court is left blank.
I guess that would be the discretion of the court, how frequent they want a report. I would say possibly annually, if they like. Julian's here if you have any questions about what it is they do, but I think as far as the blanks, I guess I would defer to Steve, but I think it just says that once it's executed, the date, that's when the agreement is, right?
So what do you
When
need?
when I reviewed this before, I advised that all the blanks need to be completed.
Okay.
So what do you recommend, Steve? No action? on
No
it?
action until the blanks are completed.
All right.
Is it time sensitive? Because we can approve it according to, as long as they fill out the
Yeah,
blanks.
we have a meeting next week.
Why weren't the blanks complete?
I'm not sure.
Steve?
This is the first I heard of it.
When I reviewed the first time, I stated that I would not approve it until the blanks were filled in.
Could that be handled before the next meeting, next week?
Yes, we can put them in.
Place it on the
Steve,
agenda.
where they can take it to you today or something, can be, the blanks
Yeah, I
be
mean,
filled in today?
it seems like it's fairly,
Well, yeah,
pretty
there was
basic.
2 blanks, and I guess the court would need to decide how often you want the entity to provide
What
reports.
is the direct questions on those blanks, ma'am?
Let's see.
We can just
the
answer
blank that she
question, yeah?
refers to says the Alliance shall provide blank number of reports to the county
Yes, how many?
with respect to their activities.
Why don't we make
That could be
two
1
separate?
copy or 2
Okay.
copies. I mean,
Well, the decision would need to be the court's decision as what you want the blank to say.
No, it can't be done right now, Steve, so. Have to wait, right?
It has to be the agreement, both parties have to agree to what those blanks
But
are.
can you bring it back next week?
Can we wait 1 week?
We have a meeting next Thursday.
Next Thursday? Okay, we can get it in before Tuesday.
Sir?
We have a meeting next week, but we can get it in court before that one. Next Tuesday, we'll put it in.
So we take no action.
Okay,
They get it done.
all right, thank you.
Commissioner Palacios. Under item 6B, I just wanted to back up for just a second. Mr. Julian Alvarez with the Rio Grande Valley Partnership is here. Just to clarify on one of the questions for Commissioner Flores, over 50,000 copies of this document were produced, and they're sent out to different trade shows. Winter Texans get them, people that call in the partnership, different chambers get it. So over 50,000 copies were produced for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alde?
Thank you, Commissioner. There's item 7A, 1 and 2, there's no action at this.
6C2. And then, no, I discussed that.
Jaime, pardon me, Commissioner.
Okay, no, that's okay, that's okay.
No.
No action the whole time.
No, okay, no, I'm sorry, never mind. With item 7A, 1, 2, there's no action at this time unless there's action to be taken further down the agenda. Item 7B, there are no major updates to the project other than we are on target and we're approximately 60 days away from having everyone housed at our modular buildings, which would be in January, towards the end of January. Item 7C, I'm asking approval to accept the settlement agreement from Travelers Insurance Company in the amount of $8,051, and this will settle a loss accident with one of our county vehicles.
Second.
Commissioners, with that being said, I'd also ask the approval of for our Sheriff, Guadalupe Trevino, to also sign the power of attorney with respect to this action for the purposes of the settle the auto claim.
There's a motion on item C1 and 2.
Thank you.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
And item D, I'm asking approval to allow Adelita Munoz to travel to Laredo. She is with our Texas AgriLife Extension Office, and this is for continuing education. This would be from December 11th through the 12th.
Move to approve.
Second?
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 8, Constable.
Good morning, Joel Rivera with Constable Precinct 4, presenting the item on behalf of Constable Guerra. He's unavailable. He's out of town on training. 8A, discuss and consideration and approval to appoint Marcos Oscar Perez as a Reserve Deputy Constable by Constable J.E. Eddie Guerra, Constable Precinct 4, in accordance with Texas Local Government Code 86.012.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 9, DA.
Morning, Commissioners. Approval for county judge to sign the Title 4E additional authorized signature designation form, PCS 301.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item 10, Tax Office.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eva Mireles again here on behalf of Mr. Armando Barrera. I'm here to present the 2012 certified tax roll totals as per Section 26.09, Section E of the Property Tax Code, and submit for approval by the governing body of Hidalgo County. For the 2012 total parcel counts, we have 333,668 accounts with a tax rate of .5900. Leaving that for the 2012 tax levy of $159,570,083.70, with an increase from 2011 with M&O and INS of $1,412,832. I need an action for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, Eddie.
Good morning, Commissioners. On 11A, discussion and action including but not limited to indigent healthcare program. At this moment, sir, there is no discussion or action on that item, unless you have any questions. Item B, I just want to give an update. We're working on past due documentation that is due towards the end of this month. We're looking at, right now, we're upwards of $235 million worth of total funding they may be allocated to us for healthcare purposes in South Texas. Under this past due component where we're adding a couple of more programs, like 5 more programs, we may be upwards of $300 million in services being rendered to South Texas and funding for support and getting additional help. The people that are adding programs that are Tropical Texas, Doctors Hospital, and we have the Border Health Region, which is a Starr County mental health region. They may be adding some DSREP programs. But I'll have that all available to you. Also, on the 18th of December during Commissioners Court, there will be an additional hearing involving 1115 waiver and giving an update on the past 2 DSREP programs. That will be on the 18th. Just want to remind everybody of that. And we'll be having a hearing in Starr County on December 19th as well to review all the 1115 waiver programs as of that date. Any questions or concerns regarding 1115 from anyone? Okay, if I may move on to item C, requesting approval of the community partnership agreement between Hidalgo County Head Start and Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Department. The purpose of this agreement is to establish a working cooperative relationship between the parties in order to plan services appropriate for each agency's program clients. This has gone through legal counsel, has been approved. This is just a formal agreement that we could work with Head Start could work with us on any type of prevention, intervention, and immunization programs.
Eddie,
Mande.
on item B.
Yes, sir.
Did it require any action?
No, sir, it was just an update about the hearings that on December the 18th here during court, and at this hearing in Starr County on December the 19th.
Do I have a motion, item C?
So moved.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item D, sir, is requesting authorization to accept the tuberculosis prevention and control federal grant contract numbers 2013-041204-006A. The purpose of this amendment is to add Article 2 Services, Section 2.02 Disaster Services to special provisions effective the date of this amendment, But let me explain what this means. In the past, if we had, under our federal grants and our state grants, if we have employees that work TB or immunization, and there's an emergency or a disaster, and we need to use those employees to help us with the disaster, we could be at risk of getting disallowed costs at that time because that grant employee was helping with a non-grant event. What this does is it allows up to 10 days, working days, that grant person could work in a disaster situation declared by the Commissioner of Health, the Governor, or the County Judge. That's all the differences on that. In fact, you'll be seeing this in all our grants coming up over the next few weeks that gives room in the event of a disaster that grant employees can actually assist during an event.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item E, sir, is requesting authorization to submit the Texas Department of State Health Services contractor's request for revision and amendment, the Hidalgo County PPCPS PDS grant or preparedness grant and discretionary funding, contract number 2013-041204-003. The purpose of this change request is to request additional funding to the amount of $91,800. This additional funding will require additional local match of $10,200. The local match will be able to come out of our program income, so it will not impact general fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
The purpose of this grant is real.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Second, the funding is in place. There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The purpose of this, sir, is to buy some additional equipment. We're looking to buy an additional morgue trailer, and we're also looking at doing some training and mass casualty training and incident command training as well, along with this money. So it's a series of funding to help with equipment and training costs. Item F, sir, requesting authorization to submit the Texas Department of State Health Services contract request for revision to amend Hidalgo County Immunization Branch Locals Contract, Grant Contract 2013-041-004-005, and the purpose of this change request to transfer funds between budgets. This was, we were going to procure a freezer, a refrigerator to keep vaccine for one of our mission clinics. However, our mission clinic is in the middle of getting renovated and taken care of, so we're not going to procure that refrigerator and use that monies for other items in that, at this moment.
So moved.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On Item G, I'm sorry. Okay, motion passed. Okay. Item G, sir, is pursuant to Chapter 465, the Local Drug and Alcohol Education Program, Section 465.003, presentation to Hidalgo County Services Drug and Advisory Commission activities. This is in pursuance to our John Austin Peña primary care substance abuse facility. As part of our requirements for that grant or that activity in the state partnership we have, there requires to be a report given by SCAN, who is the vendor providing the substance abuse services. They're going to give a brief overview of the services that have been rendered over the last several months. I'll have them introduce themselves.
Good morning, my name is Enrique Manrique. I'm the program director with SCAN, serving children and adults in need. With me, Silvia Abrego and Jorge Salinas, both treatment counselors at the program. Before I get started on my report, I would like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you guys and provide this report. Additionally, I really want to say how happy we are with using this facility. It's a state-of-the-art facility. Honestly, there is no comparison with any other facility that I've seen or worked at before. Some of you may not know about SCAN, so I'm going to give you a brief description of our organization. SCAN mission is to foster the health development of families through the provision, empowerment, and opportunities that are effective, culturally informed, and grounded in the community. SCAN was founded in 1982, so we've been around for almost 30 years, providing services to the border communities. SCAN provides a wide range of prevention, intervention, and treatment services to children, adults, adolescents, and their families. We offer services in several border counties. Our purpose at the John Austin Peña facility is to collaborate with community providers to provide integrated behavioral health care to adolescents from Hidalgo County using assertive case management and the best evidence-based treatment services interventions available to meet the comprehensive needs of adolescents with substance use disorders. We've been working out of this facility since March 2012. The facility is licensed by the Texas Department of State Health Services. Our outputs and treatment outcomes. We've provided services, screening services to 161 adolescents. Out of those 161, 133 were admitted into the program. 889 hours of individual counseling have been provided. Case management hours have been 221. A number of group counseling hours delivered is 2,331. Number of family group session hours delivered is 328. Number of family groups facilitated is 56. Percentage of adolescents linked to other community services is 96%. Outcomes include treatment completion. 60% of the individuals that come into our program complete the program. Abstinence rates are at 79% post-discharge. School involvement, 97% of the youth were enrolled in school after the program, and school performance, youth reported doing better was 85%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? I apologize.
We're also, Commissioners, just so you know, we're also working part of 1115 waiver to expand some of the programs out there. I'm already reviewing some ideas with Steve Crane in regards to this and what would be part of the bidding process or the process to allow 1115 partners to enhance what SCAN is doing and partner up with SCAN as well for this coming year. But we'll present that information as it develops and comes to fruition at that time. Any questions in regards to this? Steve, does this meet the concerns and the needs we have for the committee?
Well, you've satisfied the statute as far as making a report.
Very good. Okay. If there's any other questions, that will be all, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is Facility Manager.
Rick Sunday, Infrastructure Systems Division Manager, Facilities Management. Item 12A, Agenda Item 35475, approval for auditor to issue $100 manual check for the water meter payable to City of Edinburgh to change the account name to Hidalgo County Facilities Management for the relocation of the Hidalgo County Judge located at 302 West University Drive, Edinburgh, Texas.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12B, Agenda Item 35464, approval for auditor to issue $100 manual check for the water meter payable to the City of Edinburgh to change account name to the Hidalgo County Facilities Management Department for the relocation of Hidalgo County Human Resources.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Second.
Judge, Ms. Dora Munoz from the HIDA Task Force asked if I could present the item for her. On item 13A is requesting approval of the following claims for Superior Alarms in the amount of $134, Rod Robertson Enterprises in the amount of $952, and McCreary Aviation in the amount of $100.
Move to approve.
Second.
So motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Planning Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Raul Sin, Planning Administrator. First item on the agenda is final approval of San Clemente subdivision. San Clemente subdivision is a 46-lot subdivision located in Precinct 4. It is also been reviewed by the various county departments, and it was originally granted preliminary approval back in May 22nd of this year. Water is being provided by North Alamo, and sewer is being provided by North Alamo as well. They have finished all the construction required of the plat, and it is in order for the final approval.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Have you motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is final plan approval of Alberta Heights subdivision. It's another Precinct 4 subdivision. This one is located in the ETJ of Edinburgh, and it was approved by the City of Edinburgh, final approval. It is a 34-lot subdivision. The various county departments has also signed off on it. It was originally approved preliminary October 1st of 2012, and since then they've constructed all the improvements. Sewer is being provided via OSSF, and water is being provided via North Alamo Water Supply. We have all the approvals and everything is in order for final approval.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And last item is reimbursement cash deposit, Count 2 Heights subdivision. They had put in a escrow amount of $1,500 for the installation of septic tanks, and that has been already done. We have a letter from health approving it, so it is in order for release.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Precinct 4.
Good morning, Commissioners. Marcos Lopez, Precinct 4. Agenda item 15A, 1 is the approval of the interlocal agreement between the County of Hidalgo and the City of Edinburgh.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2 is the approval of the interlocal cooperation agreement project sewer improvements for Hillcrest Terrace and Santa Cruz Ranchettes subdivisions located in the ETJ of City of Edinburgh.
Move to approve.
Second with some comments here. This interlocal,
So
Commissioners,
motion second with comment from Commissioner Palacios.
this interlocal with the City of Edinburgh, we have an EDAP project of which 74 lots are being connected with sewer, In that, we found that there were 18 lots that weren't included in this plan. We felt that the right thing to do is work with the city of Edinburgh to provide the sewer connections, of which the cost of $29,000 on this interlocal agreement with the city of Edinburgh would be a cost savings of about $300,000 for the city. So obviously, I appreciate the city of Edinburgh coming together to work with the county on providing the additional connections to these houses. So just to give you an update on what it's for.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 15B1 is the approval of the amendment and restatement of that certain interlocal cooperation agreement between the County of Hidalgo and the City of Edinburgh, Texas concerning certain improvements on 10th Street extension from SH 107 to FM 1925, which is Monte Cristo Road.
Couple comments on that before you have some concerns?
Yeah.
Oh, you can list the concerns first.
Okay, we have a couple of concerns. First, this agreement restates in its entirety an original agreement, and the original agreement, can you hear me? That this agreement restates in entirety an original agreement that was dated May 2005 and then amended in 2007. And that agreement called for a reimbursement of a certain percent of the cost of the parcels by the city. This agreement, and so based on that agreement, we have a receivable from the city of about $62,000. The original amount, they were going to reimburse us on 40 parcels. We purchased 31 of them, and so we have a receivable. Does this agreement then, does the city continue to have an obligation to the county for that amount receivable, or?
On the original one, they still have the obligation to.
Right, but this agreement restates that agreement. So I guess that's my question. Is that agreement then superseded by this agreement and no receivable is due?
Well, they're still going to owe us. The original agreement still applies where the reimbursement is for the right-of-way acquisition based on the proportion. The difference between here is back in 2007, the idea of the city and the county was to build the extension from 10th Street from 107 to Monte Cristo within county funds and city funds, of which poor economic times, we don't have $13 million to expend on a roadway. So in the last year, we've advocated with the state and the MPO to provide construction dollars, of which we've been successful with the assistance of L&G Engineering. We now have about $11 million appropriated to the 10th Street expansion, of which now we renegotiate, this interlocal is to renegotiate with the city of Edinburgh, where their investment into it is going to be a whole sum of $600,000 for the benefit of the construction of that project, while the county gets a benefit, obviously, because we're not having to supplement the cost of the construction.
And I guess it's a legal question.
I think we need to confirm, we did not know this, that they hadn't paid what they owed. We need to confirm with the City of Edinburgh by a letter from the City of Edinburgh, for example, that they still owe the county for the sum from the previous agreement.
The existing parcels that are left are parcels that belong to the irrigation district.
Correct.
Those are
There's
the ones
9
that we're
parcels.
closing up on.
And I forwarded that information to Letty already, so she's got the map
We're
that
just
y'all
not-
requested
we're
and the
just not done
parcels that are
I
in
know we
question.
got a map, but the map didn't really list the parcels.
I just gave it.
You just
yeah.
give them? Okay. So I guess the question remains, is the money
I
still
think
owed?
we need confirmation from the City of Edinburgh that they still owe the debt on the original interlocal.
Okay, because it appears that this agreement is doing
You're
away with that
correct.
language.
You're correct.
So-
That's why we need a letter from Edinburgh acknowledging the debt from the previous agreement.
And then depending on that, we'll take action
Can
on
we approve it
on that.
Subject to that.
Okay.
Move to approve it subject to.
Well, there was the second issue was that the agreement itself doesn't specify the limits of, or the percent that's
It's
the county limits.
80% is county, 20% is city.
Has that been provided also?
Yes.
Was that, the engineer came up with those?
Correct.
Okay.
You have a motion and a second, Commissioner.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
15B2 is the approval of the amendment and restatement of that certain interlocal cooperation agreement between the County of Hidalgo and the City of Edinburgh concerning certain improvements to the 10th Street extension from SH 107 to FM 1925 project.
That's the same agenda item.
What?
That's the same, I think that was just a typo, in that the same item as number 1.
No, it's.
That,
it's a-
yeah, it's
just
two
a-
different items.
Yeah, this one is the cooperative agreement we have for the connection from Ware Road to the school.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this one is a pretty.
No, this was, we're still on 15B2.
15B2s.
One is the interlocal and the second one is a project agreement.
Yeah.
Oh, this, okay,
The
I'm
interlocal
sorry,
and the
I'm
agreement,
sorry.
yes.
I'm sorry. We do need to take action on that.
Move for approval?
Second.
There's motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 15C1 is the approval of the interlocal cooperation agreement between the County of Hidalgo, the city, the Edinburgh CISD, the City of McAllen, and Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 for road and drainage improvements on Russell Road to Ware Road.
Basically, Commissioners, there's a cost sharing where we've gotten the city of McAllen to commit to $500,000, I believe, for the expansion of a road that doesn't exist between Ware Road and the three schools that are located just east of there. It's going to provide good connectivity. We do have safety concerns off some of the roadway, access road through Ruth. There's an elevated drain ditch that provides, there's an impairment of sight when you're traveling down that road. So this is a good project. We have all entities that are contributing to it, from the school district to the city of McAllen, as well as the county and the drainage district. So it's a very, very good project.
For the record, the city of McAllen would be giving, or forwarding this $491,578 towards this project.
Commissioner, there were some concerns on this item as well. The agenda item didn't specify where funding was going to come from for this project?
The funding was, after this agreement's in place, all the funding's contingent on the interlocal obviously passing, and then when the precinct does the work, it's getting reimbursed from those different entities.
So the funding needs to be in place in order for us to get reimbursed,
Say that again?
right? That the funding...
We're using the COs.
I'm sorry?
The funding is pursuant to the agreement passing. It's a
So is
reimbursement,
this going
based on a
to be
reimbursement.
subject to funding then?
Well,
Yes.
we do have funding, and that's in the agreement.
Yes.
The funding that the school, the funding that the city, and the funding that we're getting from, I believe, drainage, all those, the county's role is to do the work. We're going to be reimbursed from those accounts, is from what I believe.
And we've already addressed that with the auditors as well, too. It's pursuant to the agreement passing because it's based on reimbursement from the city of
Right,
McAllen.
so we don't have the agreements in place.
No, once we
That's why
pass
we
that,
need
then
the
we'll get
agreement
the,
passed.
we'll
So
set
at
up the
this point, it's
accounts.
subject to those
Yes.
agreements passing and funding being in place?
So we can set up the accounts.
There was a second, the limits also, the percent of limits, has that been?
It's, what are we? It's 77% and 23%.
77 in the city or county
Yes,
or
and 23 in the county.
in the county?
Yeah.
That was also by the
Yes.
engineer and provided?
Correct.
Okay, and then also there was no legal review documented on the agenda. Legal review this?
We reviewed it.
I think we already got billed for it. Just kidding, Steve.
So then the only, the approval is subject to funding? Commissioner?
Second.
So the approval is going to be subject to those of
Correct.
funding?
Correct.
So the motion is what? Or what I,
That one, what we're just talking about.
15C1.
15C1.
so motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 15C2 is the approval of the interlocal cooperation agreement project for road and drainage improvements on Russell Road to Ware Road.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, El Bailador.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sergio Cruz, Department of Budget and Management. Item 16A1 is approval of 2012 appropriation of funds for the TxDOT Mile 6 West project and the TxDOT Mile 2 West project in the amount of $12,761.71 and $29,763.69 respectively. These are in order to cover some work authorizations that will be brought to court next week.
Second.
So motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Marty?
Yes, Martha Salazar for the Purchasing Department. Our first item will be to discuss items 1, 2, A, B, and C. There's no report or action to be taken. Item 3, A is presentation for discussion, consideration, and applicable action by Hidalgo County Commissioners Court on options presented by Montalvo Insurance in connection with the 2013-2014 annual coverages for property and casualty insurance policies. We'll start with Mr. Quintanilla will be giving you information on that, on all the issues.
Good morning, Commissioners. Roy Quintanilla for the Safety Department. I have Mr. Montalvo here. He's going to present this in more detail. We're renewing our casualty line for 2013-2014. There are 4 options. We were notified by our past carrier Travelers on some of our casualty lines that they were not going to represent us this year. We went out for new insurances. As you know, our contract is with Mr. Montalvo. I'm sorry. Travelers will no longer be our carrier for auto liability, public entity, and some of the casualty line insurances that we have. So we have the presentation for you to consider. There are 4 options. I'll let them start with the presentation, and we'll go from there, and then we'll give you what I recommend as far as the option when we're done.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We have for your consideration today 4 options in regard to the renewal of the property and casualty. If you want to refer to the options themselves, basically option 1 gives you coverage. The main difference here is with Munich or Princeton company, and they are not offering the low deductible physical damage, but they are offering catastrophic auto physical damage once you reach $100,000. And, for example, if there's a hailstorm or a flood, then you have the bigger claim situations covered. And option 1A basically is adding in that low deductible physical damage, where we add Lexington, and that adds about $270,000 to the premium. So that's basically the difference between option 1 and 1A. When you go to option 2, we have a different company on the general liability and auto, but they're offering a self-insured retention, or SIR, $50,000 more than option 1. And that also does not include any physical damage at all. And option 2A is the same set of companies, except it does add the low auto physical damage for an additional $270,000. So in a nutshell, those are the main differences on these options.
And we are, Commissioners, we are recommending option 1.
I was wondering where everybody was looking to get this information.
Yes. We're recommending option 1 again. One of the big changes was an SIR on one of the categories from 50 to 100. An SIR is our self-insured retention. Again, I don't know if we disclosed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. In reviewing these policies, Commissioners, option 1 made the best sense to us. It's the same company covering us both under auto liability and our public employment and officials' policies. One of the things that we needed to consider in doing this, because of our increase in fleet, we have over 1,100 vehicles. Option 1, we will no longer provide what they call comprehensive coverage or physical liability. Our deductible is $10,000. If we go with a company that goes, they have basically a slide for the value of the vehicle. The deductible goes up from $10,000 to a lower end vehicle to $25,000 for a higher end vehicle, so on. It's not cost effective for us. In the study that we did, then we actually got back $120,000 for about $800,000 worth of insurance. We were being smart, but dollar foolish when we were buying that comprehensive coverage. Something that we right now can't afford. We will have a comprehensive insurance for like the hailstorm that came through. If we have a lot of vehicles that were damaged, that'll cover it. Also, in the other options, options 2, the other carriers, we have a couple of lines that they would not provide for. Number one, the landfill. We'd have to go out and find a separate policy for the landfill. With this policy under Munich, we'll have coverages for our landfills. In addition, it also covers our officers in off-duty employment where the other options do not. A big part also is the amount of our SIR, our self-insured retention rate. It is $100,000 with Munich, it is $150,000 with the other options. So 2 or 3 claims will already hit that. The biggest part is, under Munich, we'll be able to negotiate our settlements. We do a lot of that in-house now. We have our own in-house counsel that we're able to assign these cases to. Under the options 2 and the other policies, the insurance companies will do that and they will assign their own counsel to it. For us to maintain control of our dollars and for us to maintain control of what we have here, the recommendation from my department is option 1, sir.
Option 1, be the one to go for.
Move for approval of option 1.
Second.
Commissioner, the concern that we have is the funding.
There's a motion, a second.
Yeah, there's not enough funding in next year's budget to cover
funding-
any of the options.
Right, and I've already talked to Sergio on that funding. I will assure you that that funding will be in place for the payment to be made for our
So
insurances.
approved subject to funding?
Subject to funding.
Thank you.
And then on another note, could the auditor's office have a list of the documentation provided to the insurer, like the list of what's insured? the covered?
Yes, and I'll read into the record what option 1 would be. Option 1, under a property, and we're insuring $254,451,733 worth of property, and that option is $583,000 in premiums. We have 2 buybacks in case of hurricanes that'll cover us because we live on the Gulf Coast. Our deductible is $500,000 for a hurricane, so we have 2 buyback policies that brings that down to $50,000 and covers us from $50,000 to $499,000, and that cost is $99,114. We have general liability for our vehicles at $1,490,169. That includes our auto liability, our catastrophic coverage, our public officials, law enforcement, and crime policies. We have a $10,000 difference in conditions policy. That's $1 million, and that's a $10,000. Kidnapping extortion is included in that. We have 3 vehicles that are designated to go into Mexico for either health purposes, law enforcement investigations, and so on. The coverage per year for that is $2,350. The pollution liability for the gas tanks at the sheriff's office is $4,400. The advanced insurance or medical malpractice insurance is $101,487. That covers all of our WICs, all of our health department clinics, and the sheriff's office, their medical complex at the jail. We have 2 errors and omissions policies, one for the district clerk, and that's at $8,454, and we have one for the county clerk, and that's $6,178. And we have our TPA, which is $48,000. The total amount is $2,353,152.
Roy, is all that in a schedule that can be provided to our office?
Ma'am?
All that is in a schedule that can be provided to our office?
Yes, ma'am. The breakdown of everything that we have here will be sent to your office. Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
Do we do have
Motion
a
is second, yes.
Roy, on this here, this policy for the autos, every time we purchase new autos, it's like a fleet, or they have to be included in there?
Every time, it's a fleet policy, as long as we stay within that 1,100, more or less, as we surplus and we add. What we've been doing lately, though, we haven't been surplusing a lot of vehicles, so it's been increasing, and so we've had to pay some increased cost if it increases over those amounts. But it is a fleet policy, yes, sir.
Do you have a motion second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that was for A, B, and C? Okay. And then number D is authority for Mr. Guerra Valdeguerra, Hidalgo County Commissioners Court Executive Officer, to execute and sign for all applicable documents as required by our insurance carriers.
Second.
Motion second.
The last item is a discussion.
No, we need a vote.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
The last item is a tail-end coverage. However, I'd like to take no action on that at this time. We do have 90 days after the policy expires to bring this back to court, and I'd like to bring it back in January at some time. So we ask for no action on that item.
And that's on,
And that's on 3E.
yeah, all right.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceeding on to item 4. This is an item that was on the agenda 2 weeks ago, and we have placed it on the agenda again so that we can finalize whatever action the court wishes to take. The first one is just for the status of all the 8 products that you see listed: dental, vision, disability, short-term, long-term, accident plans, critical illness, universal life, cancer, and COBRA. We have sent official notice to all the companies in the event the court takes action on some of the line items that are on the bottom, that follow, and that is to exercise our 60-day grace period extension, which was part of the original RFP, notifying them that in the event the court changes the plan year or hasn't been able to award to a new vendor by the effective date, the current effective date of February 1st, we would then exercise the 60-day grace period and go on to April 1st. On item B is action by Commissioners Court applicable to responses received by current providers in connection with employees. I had told you that on the grandfathering, they will only grandfather in on the fact that if we stayed with the company. The second item would be the conversion. Those can be converted conversions can be taken on a personal draft basis with your bank if you choose to keep the products. Item C, this is the portion that requires decisions by the court, and this is to accept or reject all proposals received and thus not proceed to rank for Section 125, the insurance products. And D would be to proceed to rank. Those are the 2 options. And including C would be all the 3 options available, that you either accept or reject all of what we have now, which are 29 proposals. I will remind you that some of them do not include long-term disability. So if you accept them, we would have to go to the next item, which would be applicable, was if we're going to accept them, then we proceed to rank them as they originally were scored, in the order that they were scored, and proceed to negotiate. Or the second option is if we reject, then we go out, and my recommendation, on a new RFP. So if you take action on C to reject all proposals.
Is there any action on B first?
On B? No, it's there's action if applicable, but right now it all is dependent on what we choose to do. If we're going to reject them,
Explain the options.
and at the expiration, those who have the products and wish to keep them would do it on a post-tax basis, not pre-tax. Grandfathering, they will only grandfather if they're allowed to keep. In other words, they would want us to take them forward on a term, and that isn't possible. We have no extension terms at all, except for the 60-day grace period. We don't have an option to extend our current providers for any more length of time more than the 60 days.
Marty, I think my recommendation would be to go out for bids for everything and keep it to 2, maximum of 2 agents.
To go out on bid, so we'd reject all the, yes, go out on, that's what I recommended in an email I sent you.
And have the minimum 2 agents in there, and,
Have a minimum of 3 graders?
yeah, that's it.
I
mean,
think-
no, not the graders. The graders will be Raul, Mona, your office, Laura, and the county judge's office would be Chapa.
Would be Yolanda?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Raul,
Commissioner-
precinct 2.
I'm selecting you, Marty.
Yes, yes.
And the
I
county
was-
judge's office is, I believe,
Yeah. Yolanda.
Yolanda
And-
Chapa.
And I believe
Eddie
Commissioner...
Gonzalez.
Eddie Gonzalez? Okay.
Well, we were gonna try to keep it as small as we could, just to, people that are involved will be involved, actually know what's going on with the insurance. Well, that was my recommendation.
Right, and I noted that, and then I just left it open in case anybody wanted to add, so we're adding Ms. Chapa, correct?
Chapa?
Yes. And I don't know if you want to keep it at 4?
Well, it is, to me, like I said, it'd be Raul from precinct 1, Mona from precinct 3.
Excuse me, Raul, precinct 2?
Raul from precinct 2.
Silguero from precinct 2.
Yeah, and then Mona, and then your office, of course, Laura, and Chapa, Ms. Chapa from county judge's office.
Okay, and Commissioner selected,
That's what my recommendation would be, but I don't know what the rest of the court wants.
do I have any?
I don't think it'll do any harm if we just have a representative from each precinct. You have one, Commissioner Palacios?
Yeah, I selected
He's-
Marty.
he's
She's
designated
more-
myself.
Yeah, I designated Marty. She's
Right.
more familiar with it than anybody than mine.
So right now, we're at 4,
Yeah.
okay?
I'd like a representative there.
Okay, and that would be Mr. Gonzalez? Okay, so let's take it one thing at a time here.
But
On-
keep it only with 2 agents out in the field. I mean, can we do that?
Yes, we can.
Instead of getting everybody to throw their,
Oh, no, no, we will accept, and we've done that in the past for our group health. And I only point out to Mr. Looney because he's aware of our group health one since he's a
No,
consultant.
no,
But this will be for this one too. The county will only accept from a carrier only 2 representatives,
Yeah.
2 agents. Okay. We won't assign agents, we're going to have
Yeah.
them deal with this, okay? But the first thing I need is item C. We're going to reject all proposals received and then not proceed to rank the present open proposals. So I need action on that.
move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D will require no action since you're rejecting. Item C is authority to re-advertise the RFP. And I've listed just some of...
Marty, you understand what I said? 2 agents per bid, not for the whole thing.
Correct. I will add that to the notes. These are just some of the highlights of what we're trying to get in the RFP, but I am going to add that we will only accept 2 proposals represented by 2 agents only. That's the maximum, and we won't get as many from the same.
So in this case, the carrier is going to identify 2 that they're giving exclusive right?
Whoever they assign. And usually, I think the way the carrier handles it, and I'm going back to our group health, is whoever gets their proposal, their request
Marty.
in, is that correct, Mr. Looney? It's whatever they decide to do.
And we need to look at it. Whoever doesn't qualify is out.
Oh, definitely. We're gonna,
We don't want it to
that's
happen
why,
like it happened a couple of weeks ago.
that is exactly why I'm also going to recommend to the court that a consultant be hired. I think it's important to interpret language in the proposals, but this is for education and to guide the graders.
Since this is nothing to do with the county's employees, it's the best thing for the employees, the best cost.
Correct, that will be our uppermost. It's how close can we get, to which I consider our current vendors' benefits for the employees are very good. So if we can either meet or surpass that, is our benchmark as graders, at the wishes of the court. Okay, item C, E, I would need action, and that's authority to re-advertise with those notes that you've given me in addition.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Going on to item F, this is selection and appointment. Oh, the committee, we've already done that, but I do need actual action on the names you gave me, which would be Ms. Chapa, Raul Silguero, Mona for Precinct 3, myself for Precinct 4, and Mr. Eddie Gonzalez for Precinct 1. So I do need action on that.
Move for
What's
approval.
approved, second.
That includes Flora.
That includes Florida too. Florida's included in there, right, Marty?
Who?
Flora is included.
Oh, no, I didn't hear her name.
No, no,
I
Flora
apologize.
is included in there.
So there'll be 6?
Yeah.
Okay, Flora.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item G, requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code, Section 262024A4, a professional service. I need action on that.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And this item H is approval for the purchasing department to negotiate a professional consulting agreement with Mr. William Bill Rustenberg to provide assistance, as I mentioned, education to the committee. This is,
We don't need nobody from there.
pardon me,
Who are you talking about?
Mr. Bill Rustenberg?
No, we don't want that.
Do you want me to bring another name?
I mean, there's enough knowledge here in Hidalgo County that we know what's going on. I mean, come on, it doesn't take, y'all can look at it and,
I'm not proposing, though, Commissioner, that Mr. Rustenberg grade and score them. I'm just asking that he be there available to,
what happened several years ago?
we engaged him.
Huh?
We engaged him
No,
several years ago.
Before that, what happened to the county didn't have,
We used to have a consultant, that was Mr., he's from up north, but he's changed his consulting services now. I can't remember his name at this time. But he's from Marble Falls, Texas, I remember where he's from. But we did have consultants in the past, and then the court did shy away from the consultants. But I believe in this particular project, that assistance would be invaluable to the graders. I think it'll help us substantiate our scores and be
Marty,
clear.
this consultant obviously should be made available just for questions. He shouldn't be in the process of
I don't
guiding.
propose-
And
he is not going to-
That's the problem here. The first process didn't seem very, we didn't have, I'll be honest with you, my staff spent weeks going through it, and they're not insurance professionals. So that's why I thought I'd appoint you, and then we got Mona, some of the people that have done it in the past and have been privy to grading something like this, we figured that we'd restructure by appointing those. From there, I'm hoping that if you're recommending a consultant, that it's limited to just if the individual has questions.
Exactly.
And only on that basis, not to conduct
Not to
This-
score.
score.
No, they are not going to score, they're
Marty,
not going to
what
bring
happened to us-
recommendations.
What happened to us 3-4 weeks ago? Should have thought of this. I mean, we're gonna look in there differently now. I mean, if you're gonna be involved, everybody's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah,
involved.
yes, sir.
Because if we wouldn't have put a stop to it, it would have cost the county employees more money and a lot of them.
Certainly,
Right?
I agree. But I believe that my scope of service for this consultant would be limited to assistance directly to the committee in their scoring task, not to come to court and consult in the form of grading them, scoring them, and recommending. It will assist us in making sure we can substantiate the scores we're going to give if we're not knowledgeable enough on some of the proposals, interpretation of the proposal, if we have questions. I think it can be limited to that.
Let's
But
go ahead
my-
and try
my
it out.
concern,
Let's
Commissioner,
go ahead and try
I'm
it out
in line
the
with
way
what
we
you're
have it.
saying.
And if we need help, then we'll come back and engage a consultant. But we don't need one. I don't think we need one, honestly.
Okay, if that's the court's wishes. We can, then we'd go back and rescind the exemption. Do we need to do that, Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Who's guiding?
So who's on first?
You're back to
Commissioner,
item G.
We need to go back to item G and rescind
And
the action.
rescind
You
the
took on
action.
that.
Oh, I made the motion. I'll rescind item G.
Yeah, make the second, I'll rescind it.
There's a motion to rescind the action, previous action as listed.
On item G, Commissioner.
Item G.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
G and H then will have no action, and I do recommend that, given the timeline, the commissioners should elect to change officially the plan year commencing April 1st.
What item are you on here?
On I.
Aye.
You need action for that?
Yes, sir.
Move for approval?
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item J, just to report on the possibility of engagement of an agent of record, and as I said in my email to you all, that has been deemed not possible in this case. It is not permitted for an agent of record to do both jobs, to be representing the county and also submit proposals to the county.
No action on it.
That requires, I just wanted you all to know what the results of that was, since it was part of the record. Okay, going on to item 5. Pursuant to action taken by this court on November 27th, we need to select a grading committee to score, grade, evaluate all statements of qualifications in connection with the design and construction of the new Hidalgo County Courthouse, including remodeling, additions, or renovations of existing courthouse, and that's from all the 11 eligible pool members. So we need a committee.
The judge obviously represented earlier that he definitely wants to designate
Yes,
as a grading.
he advised us through his office, through Ms. Chapa.
Okay. Out of my office, it's going to be Marcos Lopez.
Yes.
And precinct 3 be Mona Parra.
Mona? The judge, Ms. Chapa, did he indicate who? Yourself, correct? And then Commissioner
Precinct
Palacios?
2, Raul Chilguero.
Okay, and
Precinct 1, Eddie Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez. All right, may I have action on that, please?
Second.
The motion is second, with those names that were read out. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Commissioners, if I may, I need to excuse myself. I had a death in the family, a cousin, funerals today. If I can just ask if the court would consider bringing F1
Sure.
up.
Yes, sir. Precinct 4, requesting approval of work authorization number 2 in the amount of $600,560 from L&G in connection with engineering services agreement number 234 for the purpose of providing services for the preparation of surveys, PS&E, utility adjustments, and construction management for FM 1925 project, Part 2 from Phase 1, from Kenyon Road East to FM 1907 Alamo Road within Hidalgo County Precinct 4.
Move to approve.
Commissioners, just a couple, I'm sorry, but I guess you can recognize the vote.
It's a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just a couple of comments on that. When the MPO is recognized and the state is recognized this project, there's already construction dollars in the very near future to expand the roadway up to Alamo. We do have existing agreements with Cameron County and a willing effort to work with the state to find additional funding to carry 1925 further eastbound. We've had cooperative meetings with Precinct 1, Joel Quintanilla, and we're still it's a work in progress, but we're going to take it. Obviously, we can't fund it all. We're going to work leg by leg, and this is the first leg of many legs to get that east-west corridor over eastbound and hopefully connect to 493 to 88 and hopefully all the way to Cameron County. But it's a great project. The state stands by it, and as well as the EPO.
We need a vote.
We had a vote.
It's voted? Okay. Item B is exemption from competitive bidding under Texas Local Government Code, Sections 262-024A4, a professional service.
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
C is presentation of scoring grid for the purposes of ranking by Commissioners Court of the firms graded and evaluated through the county's approved pool of engineers for project FM 1017 located west of US 281, Lynn San Manuel area, which is within Precinct 4, LNG at 97, Tedzi at 93, and Guzman and Munoz at 94. Does the court wish to rank them in the order of scores?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D.
Just for the record, Commissioners, on that one, 1017, it's a major corridor for a lot of gas tankers traveling east and westbound to 281. We got the Brewster Elementary School there. It's been a hazardous situation. Surprisingly, we haven't had any fatalities that I know of in the recent future. The state is committed to provide all construction material for the project. The county's willing to come in and do the work for it. It's a great project, and there's not going to be a cost to the county, only the labor work, working in conjunction with the state The one part is that we do have to do the design. They'll provide all the material, we'll do the work, and it becomes a successful project. Building a continuous turning lane from the expressway past Brewster, which is going to take care of the safety issue that we're having up in that area. Again, a good project. Not trying to toot my horn, but it is a good project when it involves safety.
Item D would be authority for the purchasing department to negotiate a professional engineering services for the project we just named.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Correct, and that is with the number one ranked firm.
I condone.
Then going back to item 6. Presentation of reason of necessity to cancel original purchase order number 681804 for $165,000 issued by Hidalgo County to awarded contractor Highmark Construction for the additions and renovations to the WIC clinic located at 3105 East Richardson, Edinburgh, because Hidalgo County's WIC program's 2012 fiscal funding and has already closed, and thus the project was not commenced during that fiscal year and does not roll over into their 2013 fiscal year's budget. So I need that action first.
What is the wish of the board?
This is on
6A.
6A, yes, sir. It's merely we found an option on how to fund this based on their 2013 budget.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Therefore, item B is action authorizing the purchasing department to approve and process a requisition into a purchase order to Highmark Construction Company in the amount of $232,500, which reflects one half of the awarded amount and approved and fully executed construction contract between Hidalgo County and Highmark for the original 465, with additional specific wording on new PO noting that the other one half, or $232,500, will be issued through a second PO upon receipt in March of 2013, WIC's second phase of the 2013 fiscal budget's appropriations to the project we discussed. And the construction company is in agreement with this option. Could I have some action?
The only concern I want to point out here is, once you sign the contract, the county is liable for the full amount. And so what you're doing is you're basing this action upon belief that WIC will get funding in March.
Correct. And they have given us as much assurance as they can, as the WIC funding method is now done in two halves. It is no longer all receipt of their appropriations for a fiscal year at one time. That is the new funding method.
So what is it we need to do, Steve?
Well, I'm just saying that the county, once they sign the contract, they're liable for the full 465, and you're banking that WIC will get funding in March to pay the balance of that 232, whatever, 500.
I don't know. I don't see WIC here, but I do know that they are very...
If they don't, we take over the...
If WIC doesn't get the funding, then that's going to be an obligation of the county.
And even though it's an existing building, it belongs to the
Right, but you're signing a contract up front for 465, you're only paying half now, that's all WIC has. So in March, if WIC gets the funding, everything's fine.
Couldn't we break that into two different phases, Marty?
Well, we already have an existing contract. They're ready to start.
Steve, my question is, if we do that, can we take over the building if it doesn't materialize?
I believe the building is
I believe
the
the building
county's.
is a county building.
They only got money, they're being granted monies to renovate and improve the building.
My question...
But still, the liability would be there for $232,500 in the event they're not funding it in March. Now, we anticipate that since we haven't started the project, by the time she gets her funding, they will have done half the work.
That's a question for Valerie, or...
On the WIC situation, which is they no longer get all their funding appropriations for 1 year at one time. They get it in two halves.
Okay.
But because we already have this contract and they're ready to start, she could not start it prior to the end of her 2012 budget. We had a PO. So the only other option we had in order to address this was to get the contractor's agreement that he would accept 2 purchase orders. Now, as Mr. Green is pointing out to the court, there's a liability to the county in the event WIC were not to get their second half fiscal funding in March, and the project were to be finished theoretically, we would have, the
Right.
county would take on $232,000.
Well, the county would be responsible for those dollars because as the WIC department is, or the WIC agency is a department of the county, though it's a grant, but it is a department of the county, and so therefore, if funding for whatever reason was not in place, or they fell short, or they just did not get the allocated funding they thought they were going to get for this project, Hidalgo County, in effect, would then be responsible for
Yeah, well,
that
that
purchase
we
order.
And I guess, yes.
But you gotta get ready for that, that's what Steve's saying.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta be ready. in
Are you
case they-
aware? Yeah.
Right, and so we would have to make, I'll get with Sergio, but we'll have to make some type of allowance.
Of a contingency plan.
contingency to account for those
Correct.
dollars.
Correct.
Okay, so what's the motion gotta read?
You just approve it if you're in agreement.
That's it?
Yeah, it's approval, and the liability issue just had to be disclosed to you.
Yeah, point of information.
We need it, move for approval?
Second.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
B1 is the district clerk. This is requesting clarification and approval to amend the sole source declaration previously approved by, back on November 1st, 2011, for ACS to include the purchase of the IVR system, including the hardware, software, and any other pertinent related services in the amount of $31,545.70, as well as any future purchases of equipment, license, software, maintenance, support, and related services for the district clerk's current jury system in place through the life term of any of those items.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Mr.
Vote.
Crane, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mr. Crane, wasn't this the one that you did have some conversations back and forth
I
on a
did.
liability issue?
And I just wanted to point out that there is an indemnity provision by ACS in the agreement, but the next paragraph limits that indemnity to the amount of fees paid by the county to ACS.
We wanted to disclose that to the court because there had been conversations back and forth on ACS's position on limited indemnity.
So the previous motion is in place, or?
Correct.
So
Okay, going on to C, Facilities Management. Requesting discussion and action to repair the courthouse county clerk's office roof, which has water leaks and sloping problems through the following options. Either A, short-term repair roof. Short-term is to repair roof through an approved dealer as recommended by Mule Hyde, who is the manufacturer of the material existing, in order to not violate any warranties. However, the roof does have, as I mentioned, sloping or low-lying areas and needs more than just patchwork. In other words, this would be the short-term solution, but
How
in
long before it's out
long-term.
of warranty, ma'am?
No, the material's under warranty.
I understand
The
that.
workmanship, I think we just, it's
Because we
a
invest money
15-year
short.
warranty, and this is 2007, I think it's 5 to 6 years old.
Because we invest money short-term, and long-term would probably be the more effective or efficient way.
Correct,
wouldn't it?
because it won't do any good on the short term. If you have that sloping problem and the ponding of water, it's going to
It's not
ruin
gonna go
whatever you
away.
do. Yes.
Move to approve
And then,
with
but no,
item
and-
B, which would be long-term.
On the long
consideration.
term? Okay.
Second.
been moved and second. We go with item B, long term. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And to just make, for the record, item A was no action. On D, tax office,
If I may, Commissioners, item A is at no charge. It's a short-term warranty to stop the leaks. And then while that's happening, in order to stop the leaks, which we've stopped temporarily with NP1 acrylic caulk, then the long-term solution is the best solution, which is what we're researching.
That's what they went for.
But since the short-term is at no charge, we're compelling that, so we are doing the short-term.
We approved the long term.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, we approved the long term, but if
Yeah, we
the
already did.
short term is a no charge, is it fixed already or not?
temporarily with MP1 acrylic caulk, but...
But you're talking about
Because
short-term from the
even if we
company
go to long
itself.
term, you have to provide information and do a study.
Yes,
and
I just wanted
evaluate.
to
So I
make
would say
sure.
fix it short term if there's
Yes.
no cost. Of course, looking at the long-term plan.
So that, would the motion then include A and
Yes,
B?
ma'am. We'll reword it that way.
Okay, so A and B are both in the motion. D1, for the tax office, requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262-024A7A, items for which competition is precluded because, et cetera. This is to set up a sole source declaration.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B is approval of a sole source declaration for Cummings Allison Corporation to include the purchase of all future equipment, licenses, software, maintenance, support, and related services for the tax office, currency handling scanners with the term through the life of all equipment and software and related services.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
On item E1, this is for Planning Department. We're requesting rescission and action taken by Commissioners Court on 10/23/12, approving the purchase of continuation of maintenance service agreement with North American Western Data Systems, DBA Western Data Systems for the Trimble surveying equipment as previously procured on October 7, 2008 for Hidalgo County Planning, allowing us to proceed with the next
Move to
item.
approve.
Oh, no.
Is-
E1.
Yes, sir. You want it?
A motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the second option, item is approval to utilize through Department of Information Resources, DIR contract, SDD 1796, awarded vendor North American Western Data Systems for the maintenance service agreement for the Trimble 6 surveying equipment through an assigned purchase order through requisition 225129, and with the revised amount of $1,369.37, which is a savings through this
Move to
DIR.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That is all I have, since item F has already been addressed. Thank
Commissioners,
you.
we do have an addendum.
But it's not for me, right?
No, it's not for you.
Okay.
We do have an addendum, Commissioners, before we go into executive session. If I may read, there's two addendums. Actually, I'd like to take the second addendum first before the first. Second addendum is discussion, consideration, and action on the creation of 8 deputy sheriff positions and all the appropriate backup or the appropriate other action items are setting salaries, updating salary schedules, and interdepartmental transfer. This is bringing to closure the request by the Sheriff's Office for an additional 8 sheriff deputy positions that shall be assigned to the courthouse security. We are approximately 60 days away from completion of that project with respect to the departments and/or elected officials that will be moved over to the modulars. And this will, again, bring to fruition that project.
Commissioners, there was no funding document or stated in the agenda, and there's no documentation actually that was attached to the agenda, so the transfer, all the salary schedules, nothing was
Right.
attached.
I talked to Sergio, he was addressing the funding issue with respect to the backup paperwork. Again, this is for the courthouse security. Court takes action today, all the appropriate
Move to
attachments
approve subject to funding.
Yes, subject to funding. Second.
would be attached and provided to all parties involved.
It's a motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay,
We
thank
should
you.
reopen.
Now, the first one is, the addendum is discussion on county funeral escorts. Commissioners, I know that this item has come up before. We've been discussing this for many, many months now. I thought it was important that we bring this issue back up, especially for the new year. Unfortunately, we did have another incident within the last week or so with a funeral escort, and so I'm bringing before the court the discussion of a countywide, well, I say countywide, a policy that will address funeral escorts and those agencies that provide funeral escorts, whether or not we as a county will provide the escort, one, if there will be a charge, two, or no charge. If we are to provide escorts, then we need to put together some criteria as to the number of deputies assigned to the detail. I guess what I'm saying is sufficient resources in order to cover an escort from beginning to end.
But the only thing I can see here, we put all the constables to do it. I mean, there's funerals in McAllen, Sullivan, Ahoy, I mean, all over the county.
Exactly.
You cannot cover them all.
Right, it's
The only way
become an issue.
The only thing I think that can happen is, why could this, we talk to the cities, have a city cop put stay in every traffic light while they're in the city limits, and then once we get out of the city limits, the county can take over.
Okay.
And that's where most of the problems are, within the city, because they have to go from traffic light
From
to
traffic light to
light.
traffic light. Well, Commissioners, with your permission, if I may, I'd like to then work with the Constable's Office and then work with the Commissioner's Office so that we can start talking to the city officials within each precinct.
But
Most cities participate in their
included
acts.
in your discussions,
Not
include
yours.
legal.
I'm sorry?
Include legal.
Yes. Yes, now, what I do want to disclose to the court is I do want to include, yes, we'll most definitely have illegal, but I want to include the services of past representation with respect to funeral escorts on a claim. There has been some work done in the settlement of that claim from about a year or 2 years ago, and so I'd like to include Mr. John Griffin with these discussions and the formulation of some type of structure or policy. He represented us, Mr. Griffin's an attorney, he represented us on a past claim suit, and so he's very well aware of the intricacies of the issue that we're talking about right now.
And we looked at a policy last time when we were involved in the other litigation, and the problem we found is that really the Texas Association of Counties and none of the other entities have a policy on this. It's going to be something somewhat unique to Hidalgo County, so we're going to need to work with the constables and work with the district attorney's office to come up with a policy, and ours will be the policy that'll work and probably be used by a lot of other counties from here going forward.
So, just a
Let's
disclosure.
continue to look into it and bring it back.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
How do the other counties do it?
I'm sorry?
How do all the other counties in the state do it?
It's real ad hoc, and there are no real policies on it. I mean, it's strange, you would think.
The constables take care, I mean, do funeral escorts all over the state, don't they, Steve?
In some areas they do, in some of the larger counties, they don't have escorts.
Right.
Correct. And that's why there's no policies written on it, because typically it's those larger counties that would have the policies already drafted, and they don't do it.
And you have, I think you have, I can't state this for a fact, but what I've heard is you have at least one city in this county that will not do funeral escorts within the city limits.
I believe, yeah,
Well,
that's
you
true.
can find that out
Yeah, bring it back.
in your committee.
Okay.
And private people couldn't do it, private investigators, because they don't have the authority.
The authority to stop traffic, correct. Okay.
So he would either have to be deputized by the constables or the sheriff's department for them to be able to stop traffic?
Right, but at that particular, yes. But in that, if we were to start utilizing that type of service, then the county of Hidalgo would be responsible for any and all actions.
What if we get a separate insurance just for that?
Well, we could look at getting a separate policy that would address any incidents as a result of altercation or an incident with performing that service, but ultimately Hidalgo County would still be responsible for the actions, right?
We could always get $1 million or $2 million coverage on
We
it.
can look at that as well. I'll talk to Mr. Quintanilla with respect to
Come
the
back
insurances.
with some options on it.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Is it-
Okay, Commissioners, before we go into executive session, well, I guess we could do it, no, we could do it after we come out of executive session. Let's not forget that we still have drainage recess.
He can wait.
Okay, so we do need to go into executive session.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll come back and take care of it, you guys.
$1,750 as it pertains to the claim of Leoncio Cruz.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 19D, claim of Jose Biela. Commissioners, I would like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $2,500.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Entertain
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. We go back to and reconvene the
Item 6.
drainage district, Godfrey.
I'm just going to report that he is concurring with all action taken by Commissioners Court that's applicable to the Drainage District.
Can I have it in writing?
Can you have it?
We can get a transcript, sir. Move for
Do-
approval.
do we need-
We'll get it in blood.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Vote to adjourn, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's a good way to keep him here all day.
You want me to put a standing item?
As long as I've been in Commissioner's Court for many years.